I bought this as a single guy in 2004. I'd put an offer on the farm, and I was on my first date with Caroline when the real estate agent called and accepted my offer. So that's how we started back in 2004. And this place had been left untended for probably three or 4 years. So it was completely dilapidated and overgrown. And we started fixing up then. I was traveling with the Army a lot during that time frame, and so it was a slow process, so it's still a work in progress, but we have since cleared a lot of land, put in fencing around, and restored some of the buildings and removed some of the buildings, so and tried to do some habitat restoration and restore that back to a working farm. So it hadn't been a working farm for decades when we got there. Yeah. All right, so CaroKen Farm has a great history, so we've done some research on it. It was established as the Sandhills Farm Life School was established in 1859, and they taught farming, agriculture. There was a one-room schoolhouse, just a standard one-room schoolhouse, but this was a working farm, so they used this farm to teach some of those aspects of it. So this was probably the original barn from back then. We've gotten pictures from 1913, and it looks just like that in 1913, so it was old back then. Anyway, they farmed around here. There are several structures that are still intact. That little tractor barn there behind the left rear was built in 1913, and we have the bill of materials and the receipts from when they built that, and it cost like $74 or something. And then the original Moore Regional Hospital is on the site of where our new workshop is, and that was our home for about 5 years as we were building our new house. So that is, it's got a rich history here of all kinds of stuff from an education perspective, but also a farming perspective that we're trying to restore. So it had a they had livestock raised in this barn, so you could tell that it was like where they had milk cows in there, so you can see the milking station, and they had a wooden silo on the backside that was still standing when I bought the place, but it had collapsed against the backside and was unsafe, so I had to take it down as part of my insurance, getting insured process. So we call those, well, the first one is the workshop, and the one in the background is the lodge, and it's got a great history. So it was made from old tobacco barns, so the logs were repurposed from old tobacco barns. And then there's one end that has a brick veneer on it, and it was a World War II First Sergeant's hut from Fort Bragg that they moved here, or maybe Camp McCall that they moved here. But it's looks like an old First Sergeant's hut. I mean, all the interior is still intact, so. And we have Army guys come out and train there or have meetings there. And for the last couple of years, we've had the St. Francis Sater butterfly researchers have lived there during the season that they're flying. So, and the Nature Conservancy has lived there during their burning seasons for a few years. So it gets good use. So it's got you can see logs that were used in the turpentine trade. It's got the hatch marks for the sap to run down. So it's got some neat logs over there. This was a tobacco barn. It is now called the Poet's Den. We restored it maybe 2 years ago, and fixed it up. And you'll see on the back side there's windows on the back side, so it's lighted and everything, so you can read in there, and it's just a nice place to hang out. So that's the idea. There's just another, and we put a bat house on it this last fall to try to lure in some bats. Know if it's of any interest, but there were structures here that we don't know the history of. So you can tell there was a chimney there under the roots of that sweet gum tree there, but it looked like a cellar right behind it. And it was probably, I don't know, maybe 30 feet long and 12 feet wide, which is interesting. And then this tobacco barn was dug in probably another, I don't know, foot, 18 inches from what it is right now. I filled it in just to make it so it wasn't such a deep hole.